Hello. I think we are live. At least that's the way that it looks on the little indicator there. So, today I want to talk about premature aging. And I think sometimes it slips up on us. And let me give you an example. And it's not exactly about aging, but it's something that I think we can all relate to. So, I planted put in a bunch of seeds for my these flowers that I really like, and they're called popinjays, and they're zinnias. And so I put some seeds in and watched them, and nothing happened, and nothing happened, and nothing happened. And I'm like, were the seeds not good? Am I not watering them right? Did they not get enough light? What's the deal? And then I go out and I see just these little green tops that are starting to come up. And I'm thinking, great, this is perfect. So I keep watering them and then I go out and 3 or 4 days later I go out and they're this big. And there are not only one or two of them, there are a bunch of them and they're all bunched together. And it seemed to me like it happened overnight when actually there had been a lot of stuff going on in the background that I didn't see the stuff underneath the top of the soil as to what was going on when they started poking up their little heads as far as that's concerned. And one day we got lots of rain and sunshine and boom, they grew. So our aging is kind of the same way. There are lots of really subtle things that are happening in the background that we don't really know or are paying attention to. And they're dealing with some of them with changes in our hormones. So, and it's not just the estrogen, progesterone, and all of those kinds of things that we typically think about. It is other things as well. So some of the stuff as far as how we absorb protein and how we utilize carbs in particular. That's a big one, right? We can't really eat the pasta and the bread and the rice and all of those cookies and cakes and all that kind of stuff that we could before because our body's different. And part of the challenge is these changes have been so subtle that once we wake up and we're in our mid 40s or in our 50s, we're like, what the hell just happened here? It seems like it's overnight, but there have been subtle changes that we don't really notice that have been going on. And we start not sleeping well, and we start maybe having hot flashes, or maybe we have difficulty going to sleep or staying to sleep, or sometimes you have changes in your sex drive, or it might be changes in the way that you feel energy wise. And as this starts to happen, unless we're paying attention, things get to the point where you feel like you want to give up. And I see this a lot is women wake up one morning and they look in the mirror and they go, who the hell is that? When did I become my mom? And it's not that they don't care about or love their mom. It's just that, they're really not quite ready to look like that yet. So just like it took time for it to get to that point, it takes time to really reverse those. And I want to tell you that the human body is an awesome thing. There are tons of stuff that you can do to actually stop that rapid aging, because for many of us, it feels like, oh my God, this is a freight train. How am I going to stop this? And what's next? What's going to happen next? Already I've got, you know, my body is a great example. Gravity works. Things are starting to fall. What is it I can do, and how much do I have to do, and where do I start? Are all of the kind of questions that you see a lot of, and there are tons of recommendations. Just go out and Google, and you can ask a question about how to minimize my wrinkles, and you'll get 3, 4, 5 million hits. And then the challenge becomes, how do I know what's going to work for me? Because my body is different than somebody else's. And how much work is this? Do I have to do things to my skin? Do I have to do things on my skin? Do I have to go have cosmetic procedures? What's the right answer? And so I think and one of the ways to start is to really look at what it is that I'm doing now and how is it that it makes me feel. And one prime example is a friend of mine used to, actually, she's a client, used to go to, we have lots of microbrews here in Minneapolis in the Twin City area. And she used to like to go out with her friends and they would go to the microbrews and she would have, a beer and they would have, bar food or whatever. And it was not that it wasn't good food, it was just that it was high carb, fried foods, those kinds of things. And so she started noticing, after I do that, the next day my stomach hurts or I feel really bloated. And so she started looking at, okay, so when else does this happen and what else does this happen with? And really was able to go down the process with us working on looking at setting up when this happened, what the result was, how often it happened, to start changing things that she was eating and drinking, and found out that she basically couldn't tolerate beer, and there was some ingredient in it, and probably associated with the wheat, or it could have been the hops or the barley, any of those. But once she found that, she switched to a gluten-free beer, and then she started not eating so much of the fried foods, that then she was able to go back and enjoy that again. So a lot of times it's not necessarily associated with, dramatically changing everything with your lifestyle. It's kind of like what happens when people have a New Year's resolution, right? They say, okay, I'm going to do this. This is my year. I'm all about this. I really want to make this work. I'm going to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, 3 days a week. I'm going to go work out. I'm going to have, my protein drink in the morning and da 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 da. And after about 2 weeks, they've only been to the gym once. The second week, they're really tired. They're not feeling good at all. And now, on top of that, are feeling like they're a failure because they weren't able to maintain it. And doing something, little steps toward your goal, help significantly, rather than deciding you're going to make a sweeping lifestyle change all at once. Now, I have had clients that have been able to do that, but usually that's associated with a health incident. Something has happened in which they know that they've had a mini crisis, or there's an impending crisis if they don't make some dramatic changes. And that can be a real motivator for some people to do something dramatic, because they know if they don't, the end result is going to be pretty devastating. So, but my recommendation is to start with little 5-minute increments. But before you even do that, one thing that's really super simple to do is, when you wake up in the morning, say, "Hey, how do I feel? Did I sleep well? Am I sore? Am I achy? What's going on this morning?" And then just kind of document throughout your day as to how you feel and what's going on, because that's going to be the best starting point. Now, you're not going to always know what it is that you need to do once you have this information, and that's where people like me come in and are really helpful to kind of dial down into that and figure out, is it this versus this? Because sometimes it's not a straight line. Sometimes it is a little bit, we have to do some other things in order to get there. But a 40 or 50 or 60-year-old body can't be treated the same way that you did when you were in your 20s and 30s. And we don't really think of it that way. When you think about the fact that when you're a toddler, you ate differently than when you were in your 20s, and that's a 20-year span. So thinking about eating differently in your 20s versus your 40s, or 30s versus your 50s, doesn't really compute as far as that's concerned. We view it as a loss. And actually, it's not, because we have a whole host of experience and knowledge and stuff that we really know more about. I mean, I'm much better, for example, about my boundaries and saying, no, I'm not interested in doing that, or no, I don't want to, rather than feeling like I kind of have to do it because somebody asked me to do it. Or, for example, being willing to try something new because it's like, well, I've been interested in doing that for a long time, haven't tried it. Now's as good a time as any to just jump in and see what happens. So, being able to do some of those things as you get older and looking at that benefit. The other thing is, a lot of us have more time for ourselves now. And so, figuring out what it is that we want to do, but also focusing on taking care of us because we've spent so much time taking care of everybody else, be it children, doing extra stuff for the career and building our career, spouses and that relationship, taking care of parents, all of those kinds of things. And now is the you time. Now is the time to spend, to focus on you and to do what you need to do. So I want to also let you know I have a group that I have am giving some special content to. So let me know if you're interested in joining that group. Just send me a DM and I'd be super excited to tell you about it. All you have to do is put yes. That's it. Super simple. Love to have you come in and join that group. I'm going to continue talking about this about premature aging because it is something that, in some respects, people think is a little bit vain, but actually, what you see on the outside is really a reflection of what is going on the inside. There's all these discussions now about diabetes actually, starts in the body 15 years, maybe even 20 years before we start to see elevations in blood sugar. Alzheimer's, actually, the changes, they call it the diabetes type 3 now. Actually, the changes that are happening in the brain and the body happen 10 to 15 to 20 years earlier. So, really being able to say, what's happening on the outside, there's more underneath that. It's kind of like that iceberg thing. So, I want you to know there's tons of stuff you can do. Stay tuned, we've got more. And as a reminder, I got that special group, no cost to join. So, in the DM, just put yes, and I'll give you more info. That's all for today, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye bye.